I was halfway to the hospital when the call came through. Grandma was fine. Not sick. Not admitted. Nothing. Just sitting in her garden, sipping tea. My hands shook as I stared at the phone. My parents had lied again. But this time it wasn't just a harmless trick. They'd told me my grandmother was dying so I'd stay home, so they could go on the family cruise without me. And when they came back, they didn't expect what I'd found while they were gone. Because Grandma had told me something that changed everything I thought I knew about my family. I still remember the way my mother's voice cracked over the phone that morning. "Raylan, sweetheart. It's Grandma. She's in the hospital. It's bad." I was halfway through packing for our annual family cruise, a trip we'd been planning for months. My suitcase lay open on the bed, half filled with sundresses and sunscreen. I froze mid-fold, my heart dropping into my stomach. What happened? Which hospital? Is she awake? I asked, already reaching for my car keys. "We're on our way now," Mom replied, her voice trembling. "You should stay home. No point coming all the way out here. They might not even let visitors in yet." Something about the way she said it, too calm, too composed, didn't sit right. But panic drowned logic. "Mom, I can't just sit here," I insisted. "I'll drive down. Tell me where she is." Then Dad's voice joined the call. "Raylan, listen to your mother. We'll handle it. You just stay home, okay? We'll update you soon." Click. The call ended. My hands shook. I dropped the phone, staring at the silent screen. Grandma, my favorite person in the world, was in the hospital and they didn't even want me there? I didn't listen. 10 minutes later I was in the car, hair tied up, heart pounding. The sun was barely up as I sped down the highway toward St. Mary's Medical Center, the only hospital near Grandma's town. Every mile felt heavier than the last. I prayed silently, whispering her name like it might keep her safe. When I reached the hospital, I ran straight to the front desk. "Eleanor Brooks," I said breathlessly. "She's my grandmother. She was admitted this morning." The nurse frowned, typing quickly. "I'm sorry, ma'am. There's no one by that name admitted here." I blinked. That can't be right. Maybe under a different spelling. "E. Brooks." She checked again, shook her head. "No Brooks at all." My mouth went dry. "Could you check another hospital nearby?" She glanced up at me with polite concern. "We're the only one in this district, ma'am." I stumbled outside into the parking lot, the world spinning. If Grandma wasn't here, where was she? Called Mom again. Straight to voicemail. Then Dad. No answer. A dozen thoughts raced through my head. Wrong hospital, wrong patient, maybe they didn't want to worry me. Until a smaller, colder thought whispered something darker. What if they lied? My stomach turned. I drove straight to Grandma's house. Her little blue cottage sat at the end of Willow Lane, quiet and familiar. The curtains were open. Her car was parked out front. I stepped out slowly, my legs trembling, and knocked on the door. After a moment, the door creaked open, and there she was. Grandma, smiling, healthy, holding a teacup. "Raylan, what on earth are you doing here, darling?" Froze. "Grandma, you're okay?" She chuckled softly. "Of course I am. Why wouldn't I be?" My throat tightened. "Mom and Dad said you were in the hospital. They said it was bad." Her smile vanished. Confusion clouded her eyes. "Hospital? Dear no. I've been home all week." I felt the air leave my lungs. "So they lied." Grandma frowned, setting her cup down. "They told you that?" I nodded, tears stinging my eyes. "They said you were sick so I wouldn't go on the cruise." Her expression changed. Sadness, then something sharper, older. She sighed. "I was afraid this would happen one day." I stared at her. "What do you mean?" Grandma looked at me carefully, lowering her voice. "Your parents didn't want you on that trip, dear. It's about the will." My heart stopped. "What will?" She stood, her face serious now. "There's something you need to see. Something your grandfather left for you before he passed." Grandma shuffled to her dresser and pulled out an old envelope sealed with red wax. She placed it in my trembling hands. He wanted you to have this when you were old enough. Your parents never wanted you to see it. I turned the envelope over, my name written in faded ink. My voice barely came out as a whisper. Why would they hide this from me? Grandma looked away, her eyes filled with regret. Because, Raylan, what's inside that letter changes everything. The envelope felt heavier than paper should. It had my name written in my grandfather's handwriting, steady, precise, and unmistakable. I hadn't seen it since his funeral. For a moment I couldn't breathe. Grandma, why didn't I ever get this? I whispered. She sighed, her frail fingers brushing mine. Because your parents thought you weren't ready. Or rather, she added, her eyes narrowing, they weren't ready for you to know. I sat down on the couch and broke the wax seal. Inside was a folded letter, yellowed with age and smelling faintly of cedar, the way Grandpa's study used to smell. I began to read aloud. My dearest Raylan, if you're reading this, I'm no longer around to tell you these words myself. You've always had the kindest heart, the sharpest mind, and a strength this family may one day try to test. I want you to know that this home, your grandmother's cottage, will always be yours. You belong here as much as she does. Take care of her and she'll take care of you. With all my love. Grandpa. The letter trembled in my hands. This house, he meant for it to be mine too. Grandma nodded slowly. Yes, dear. He wanted you and me to share it. But when he passed, your parents changed things. Said it would simplify the paperwork. I didn't question it then. I felt something cold settle in my chest. They lied about Grandma's health. And they lied about this. So the will was changed. Yes. Grandma's voice dropped to a whisper. Yes. Your father brought me some documents a few years ago. Said it was just for insurance purposes. I was tired that day and didn't read closely. Now I wonder if I signed something I shouldn't have. I clenched the letter tightly. And now they're on a cruise, celebrating. Grandma gave a sad smile. They didn't want you there, Raylan. They didn't want you to start asking questions. I stood and paced the room, my pulse pounding in my ears. The puzzle pieces started fitting together. Too perfectly. Last year, Mom had been oddly distant whenever Grandpa's estate came up. She'd said, "You'll understand when you're older." I was 28. How much older did I need to be? Then there was Dad's sudden interest in property values, the arguments I overheard behind closed doors, and that time Mom snapped when I asked about Grandma's finances. Thought it was stress. Now I knew it was guilt. Grandma, do you remember which lawyer handled Grandpa's estate? Her eyes brightened slightly. Oh yes, Mr. Calloway. He still sends Christmas cards. Pulled out my phone. Good. I'm calling him. She looked uneasy. Are you sure, dear? Your father will be furious. I took a deep breath. He already lied to me about his own mother dying. I think we're past worrying about his feelings. When Mr. Calloway answered, his voice was warm and familiar. Raylan. My goodness, I haven't heard that name in ages. How's your grandmother? She's fine, I said quickly. Actually, that's why I'm calling. I found a letter from my grandfather, and it says Grandma's house should have been left to both of us. But I checked online, and it's only in my father's name. There was a pause on the line. That's odd, he said slowly. The original will did include your name. But I remember your father submitting an updated version 2 years later. Signed by your grandmother. I met Grandma's startled eyes. She never signed it willingly. Mr. Calloway hesitated. Raylan, I probably shouldn't say this over the phone, but if your grandmother didn't understand what she was signing, that could constitute fraud. Fraud. The word echoed in my head. A lie was one thing. Fraud was a crime. I thanked him, ended the call, and turned to Grandma. I'm going to get a copy of that new will. I need to see it for myself. Grandma reached for my hand, worry clouding her face. Be careful, dear. Your parents. They can be cruel when cornered. I squeezed her hand gently. Then it's time they learn I don't scare easily. That night I couldn't sleep. The lie about the hospital wasn't just to keep me off the cruise. It was to keep me away from this truth. I sat by Grandma's old desk, the letter still open beside me, lit by the glow of her antique lamp. My grandfather's words replayed in my mind. You've always had strength this family may one day try to test. I smiled faintly through my tears. Guess today's that day, Grandpa. The next morning I drove to the county clerk's office. The smell of old paper and printer ink hit me as I walked in, heart hammering. The clerk, a kind woman with silver hair, smiled. How can I help you, honey? I need a copy of my grandmother's property will, I said. Filed under Eleanor Brooks. She typed for a while, then printed 2 documents. There's an older version from 2015, and a revised one from 2021. I scanned the first one. My name was right there. Property jointly left to Eleanor Brooks and her granddaughter, Raylan Brooks. But in the new version, my name was gone. The property now belonged entirely to my father, Michael Brooks. My hands went cold. He'd erased me literally like I never existed. Grandma's teacup rattled slightly as she adjusted her glasses and stared at the documents I'd brought. Her hands trembled, not from age but from the weight of realization. This isn't my signature, she whispered. She held the page closer to the light. Look at that loop in the E, it's wrong. I always make mine curl inward. Her voice cracked. He forged my name, Raylan. It didn't feel real at first. My father, the man who taught me to be honest, who punished me once for lying about a broken vase, had faked his own mother's signature. My stomach twisted. Grandma, when did you sign this? She rubbed her temples. I remember that night. I wasn't feeling well. Your dad came over with papers and said they were for insurance adjustments. I didn't have my glasses on. I trusted him. Her words landed like stones. Trust. The one thing he didn't deserve anymore. He used you, I said, my voice shaking. He wanted this house before you were even gone. Grandma's eyes filled with tears. Your mother encouraged it. I heard her say, we'll just tidy up the estate while she's still alive. Part of me wanted to scream, another wanted to collapse. Instead I reached for her hand. We're not going to let them win. She looked at me, fragile yet fierce. You sound just like your grandfather. That night, I called Mr. Calloway, the estate lawyer. He listened quietly as I explained everything. The fake hospital story, the will, Grandma's discovery. When I finished, there was a long silence. Raylan, he said finally, if her signature was forged, that's not just unethical. It's criminal. Can you prove it? Yes. I can try. Bring me both copies. We'll run a forensic comparison. After the call, I spent hours photographing documents, labeling them with sticky notes, scanning every signature. My living room looked like a detective's wall. Papers, timelines, highlighters. I wasn't the gullible daughter anymore. I was the investigator. Before going to bed, Grandma called me softly from her room. Dear, I need to tell you something else. One of your father's employees saw him printing those papers. She told me she felt uncomfortable about it. My pulse quickened. Do you know her name? Her name's Heather. Works at his office. I wrote it down immediately. Another piece of the puzzle. As I turned off the lamp, the reflection in the window stared back. Me, exhausted but determined. You lied to keep me quiet, I whispered. But you forgot I'm your daughter. I learned persistence from you. The day they came back from the cruise, the house smelled like expensive perfume and betrayal. Mom burst through the door, all smiles and gold jewelry, tossing her sun hat onto the couch. Raylan, we missed you. Her hug felt hollow. Dad followed, dragging suitcases and wearing that smug grin he always had when he thought he'd outsmarted someone. You should have come with us, he said. Best week of our lives. Perfect weather. No stress. I stared at him. Yeah, no stress at all. Grandma's been doing fine, by the way. His smile faltered for half a second. Oh, that's good. Mom chimed in quickly. We're just happy she's okay. Things can change so fast at her age. I forced a smile. Right. But not as fast as a forged will, I guess. Both of them froze. The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Dad's voice came out low. What are you talking about? I folded my arms. The will. The one where Grandma's signature magically changed. I've seen both versions. And I talked to Mr. Calloway. Mom's face drained of color. You had no right. I had every right, I cut in. It's my name that disappeared. Dad's jaw tightened. Be careful, Raylan. You don't understand how these things work. I understand forgery laws, actually, I said coldly. Mr. Calloway confirmed the signature doesn't match. Mom's hands trembled. You're making a scene. I leaned forward, my voice steady. No, Mom. You made a crime. That night, while they unpacked, I sat on my bed scrolling through my emails. A new message flashed across the screen, from Mr. Calloway. Forgery confirmed. Expert verification complete. Prepare for legal notice. Keep silent until further instruction. I exhaled slowly. My chest loosened for the first time in weeks. But when I looked up, my breath caught. Dad was standing in the hallway, watching me through the cracked door. His expression wasn't anger. It was calculation. What are you reading? He asked softly. Closed the laptop. Work stuff. He nodded, eyes lingering on me a beat too long. Good. Don't get involved in things that aren't your business. I waited until his footsteps faded, then reopened the email and whispered, Oh, Dad, this is my business. The storm was coming, and this time I wasn't the one running from it. The morning started with a call from Mr. Calloway. Raylan, the evidence is in your favor, he said. But brace yourself, your father will find out soon. His warning came true faster than I expected. By afternoon, the house felt tense, like a storm about to break. Mom pretended to fold laundry while Dad locked himself in his study, shouting on the phone. No one files anything without my consent. I heard him yell. That girl doesn't know what she's doing. When I walked past, he stepped out, eyes hard. You think you're clever, don't you? I met his glare. I think I'm tired of being lied to. He took a step closer, his tone low and dangerous. Everything I did was for this family. I laughed bitterly. No, Dad. You did it for yourself. He slammed his hand against the wall, making me flinch. You're my daughter. You'll regret betraying me. I didn't betray you, I whispered. You betrayed Grandma. His face turned red. That old woman is losing her mind. You believe her over your own parents. The words cut deep, but not enough to make me back down. I steadied my voice. Mr. Calloway has the documents. The court's already involved. You can't stop this anymore. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think the truth will save you. You've just destroyed your family. He stormed out, slamming the door so hard the picture frames rattled. That night, Grandma called me into her room. She looked frail but fierce. You did the right thing, Raylan, she said softly. Don't let guilt change your mind. Tears burned my eyes. I just wanted them to love me, Grandma, not use me. She took my hand. They'll have to learn what love really costs. As she spoke, my phone buzzed. A text from Mr. Calloway. Court date set for Friday. Bring everything. Truth's on your side. I exhaled shakily and whispered. Then Friday it is. Outside thunder rolled. But for once, I wasn't afraid of the storm. Friday came dressed in gray clouds and silence. Grandma and I sat outside the courthouse, her hand wrapped tightly around mine. Remember, she whispered, you're not fighting against family, you're fighting for what's right. I nodded, though my heart hammered like a drum. Inside, the courtroom smelled of paper and tension. My parents were already seated at the other table. Mom in pearls, eyes red from crying. Dad with that same cold stare that used to make me apologize for things I hadn't done. Mr. Calloway leaned over and whispered, "Stay calm. We have everything we need." The judge entered and suddenly it was real. Dad spoke first. His voice was smooth, almost charming. "Your Honor, this is all a misunderstanding. My daughter's been misled by my mother, who's not entirely well." Grandma stiffened beside me. Then it was my turn. My voice trembled at first, but steadied as I spoke. "My parents told me my grandmother was dying to keep me away from this, so they could alter her will. That's not a misunderstanding. That's manipulation." The judge nodded slowly. "Continue." Mr. Calloway handed over 2 documents. "Here's the 2015 will, signed properly. And here's the 2021 version with a forged signature. Our handwriting expert confirms it's identical to Mr. Brooks' own writing, traced from earlier records." A gasp rippled through the courtroom. Mom covered her mouth. Dad's face went pale. "That's a lie," he barked. "You can't prove." Calloway interrupted, calm but sharp. "Actually, we can. And there's more." He pulled out another envelope, the one Grandma had given me. This letter was written by the late Mr. Brooks. It explicitly states that his home should belong jointly to his wife and granddaughter. The judge read it silently, then looked up. "Mr. Brooks, this is clear. The transfer is nullified. The estate returns to Mrs. Brooks and Ms. Raylan Brooks." Dad sank back speechless. Mom sobbed quietly. When it ended, the gavel struck once, echoing like thunder. Outside, Grandma squeezed my hand. "He'll never admit it," she said softly. "But he knows he lost." I looked at her, tears finally spilling free. "He didn't just lose the house, Grandma. He lost me." She smiled sadly. "Maybe one day that will matter to him." I shook my head. "Maybe. But not today." That night the house was quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence that comes after something big breaks and everyone is left staring at the pieces. Grandma had gone to bed early. I sat alone at her dining table, the court papers spread out like ghosts of everything we'd survived. The ticking clock echoed in the hollow space between anger and relief. My phone buzzed. For a moment I hesitated. Then I pressed play. "Raylan." His voice rasped through the speaker, heavy and slurred. "You think you've won, huh? You embarrassed your own family in front of everyone. Your mother can't even go to the market without whispers. Are you proud of that?" I closed my eyes, letting him talk. "You made us look like criminals. After everything we did for you, college, your car, your rent. And this is how you repay us. You sided with that old woman who never respected me. You chose her over us." He paused, breathing uneven. "Maybe I was wrong, but I was trying to protect what's ours. You'll understand one day when you have kids. Call me back, please." The message ended. The room felt colder. 4 years I'd begged for his approval, waited for one honest apology. But even now it wasn't remorse. It was guilt wrapped in manipulation. I hit delete. Outside, rain began to fall again. The sound was soft, almost kind. Grandma's door creaked, and she appeared in her robe, sleepy but smiling. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asked. I shook my head. "Dad called." She nodded knowingly. "Let me guess, he made himself the victim." I laughed softly. "You know him too well." Grandma sat across from me. "Your father's been chasing control his whole life. When your grandfather left that letter, he saw it as a threat, not a gift. He thought love had to be owned to be real." Her words sank deep. "And you?" asked. "What do you think love is?" She smiled gently. "Love is when someone gives without keeping score. You did that for years, Raylan. It's time to give that same love to yourself." I felt tears sting my eyes again, but this time they didn't hurt. They felt like release. We stayed up until dawn, drinking tea, watching the sky lighten. I looked around the cottage, its chipped wallpaper, the faint smell of lavender, the sound of rain easing. For the first time it truly felt like home. I whispered. "He took the trip to escape guilt. I stayed to find the truth." Grandma squeezed my hand. And you found yourself along the way. If your family ever lies to protect their own comfort, remember, truth doesn't sink, floats. And when it finally reaches the surface, it shows who's been swimming in shadows all along. What would you do if your family lied to keep you away from the truth? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more real stories that prove honesty always comes home.